My parents gave every biological grandchild a personalized scrapbook and a savings bond at their grandchildren's celebration. My adopted son got a $10 gift card to a toy store. I picked him up, said goodbye, and we left. 6 years of watching. 6 years of hoping I was wrong. Then the gift card confirmed everything. My name is James Calloway. I'm 43 years old. I teach high school history in Columbus, Ohio. I've been doing it for 17 years. I coached the junior varsity baseball team in the spring. I live in a 2-story house on a street with old oak trees and neighbors who wave when you pull into the driveway. I have a wife named Lauren. We've been married for 15 years. And I have a son named Noah. He is 6 years old. He has my last name. He has his own room that we painted twice because he changed his mind about the color. First blue, then green, finally a deep navy that he picked himself from a paint swatch fan at the hardware store. He has a dog named Biscuit and a best friend named Tyler from school and a laugh that comes from somewhere so deep it shakes his whole body. He is my son, in every way that matters and every way that doesn't need to matter. 3 months ago, my parents gave every biological grandchild a handmade scrapbook, an engraved silver keepsake, and a $500 savings bond. They gave my son a $10 gift card to a toy store. Still in the rack sleeve. No personalization. No note. I watched my 6-year-old hold that gift card and look at what his cousins were holding. I stood up, took his hand, and we left. I'm going to tell you the full story, because this didn't start 3 months ago. This started the day we brought Noah home. Lauren and I met in our mid-20s, married when I was 28. We started trying to have children not long after that, the way people do when they believe it will happen naturally and quickly. It did not happen naturally or quickly. I won't go deep into the years of trying. That's a story for another time, and it belongs to Lauren as much as it belongs to me, and she's a private person. What I'll say is this: 12 years is a long time to want something. 12 years of hope and medical procedures and loss and trying again. 12 years of watching the world around you grow families while yours stays at 2. By the end of those 12 years, I understood something I had not understood at the beginning. Becoming a parent is not a transaction. You don't simply arrive at it by wanting it hard enough or waiting long enough or going through enough procedures. It is something that either happens or it doesn't, and no amount of effort or rightness or readiness controls the outcome. I also understood, by the end, that Lauren and I were going to be good parents. I knew this not because we had done everything right, but because we had been tested for 12 years and we had stayed. That knowledge mattered to me. It still does. We made the decision to pursue adoption when I was 35. It wasn't a consolation. It wasn't giving up. It was a door we decided to walk through with intention, because we wanted to be parents more than we wanted a particular path to parenthood. We brought Noah home when he was 4 months old. I was 37 years old. I held my son for the first time in a room with fluorescent lighting and a social worker with a clipboard, and I have never felt anything like it in my life before or since. Not the day I graduated college. Not the day Lauren said yes. Nothing. He was mine. He was ours. He was the point of everything. My parents, Walt and Diane Calloway, had always been what you'd call involved grandparents to my brother Kevin's children. Kevin is 3 years younger than me. He and his wife Pam have 3 kids: Carter, who is 10, Lily, who is 8, and Cooper, who is 5. They live 20 minutes from my parents. My parents see them constantly. Holidays, birthdays, random Tuesday dinners. My mother knows Carter's baseball schedule. My father coached Cooper's t-ball team. They are present in that family's life in an ongoing, natural, woven-in way. When we brought Noah home, my parents were happy. I believe that. They came to meet him. They held him. They smiled. They said the right things. But something was different from the start, and I want to be careful about how I say this because I spent years, telling myself I was imagining it. The visits were less frequent. Not dramatically so. Not so different that I could point to a calendar and say, "Here is proof." But in the way that you know the temperature of a room without a thermometer, I knew. My mother would ask about Carter's soccer tournament with a specific excitement she did not bring to questions about Noah's preschool program. My father would suggest I bring Kevin's family to his fishing cabin up in Hocking Hills, and then almost as an afterthought say, "And you guys too, of course." Kevin's kids called them Grandma and Grandpa with an ease and frequency that Noah took longer to find. And some of that was age and circumstance, but not all of it. I watched. I noticed. And every time I noticed, I fought myself about it. Maybe I was reading too much into tone. Maybe I was projecting my own anxieties about adoption onto normal family variations. Maybe the proximity, Kevin's family being 20 minutes away versus our 40 minutes, explained the difference in involvement naturally. I am a fair-minded person. I try to be. I have spent my professional life teaching teenagers to examine evidence before reaching conclusions, to hold their interpretations loosely, to look for alternative explanations before settling on the one that supports their first instinct. I applied that same discipline to my own family situation for 6 years. I had these conversations with myself constantly during the first 4 years of Noah's life. I chose, again and again, to give the benefit of the doubt. I did not confront my parents. I did not raise the subject with Kevin. I said nothing to Lauren except in late-night conversations where I'd start to say something and then pull back and say, maybe I'm wrong. Lauren never told me I was wrong. She was careful about that. She saw it too. But she trusted me to handle my family in my own time and in my own way. There were specific moments that I cataloged in my head without meaning to. I didn't intend to keep a running record. But the mind does what it does with patterns. The first Christmas after we brought Noah home, Carter and Lily each received a personalized ornament from my parents, the kind you have custom made, with a child's photo transferred onto glass, their name and the year printed below. They were beautiful, clearly chosen with care. Noah received a gift bag with a few small toys from the dollar section of a department store. Not badly chosen, not cruel, just not the same. I told myself, he's a baby. They don't know his personality yet. Give them time to build a relationship. When Noah was 2, my mother invited Kevin's whole family to her sister's lake house for a long weekend. She called Lauren, not me, and mentioned almost as a footnote that the invitation is open to you too if you want to come. We could not come that weekend due to a conflict, but I noticed the footnote quality of the invitation. Kevin's family had been planned around. I told myself, they probably assumed our schedule wouldn't work. It wasn't intentional. When Noah was 3, Lauren's parents came to visit from Michigan. They arrived with a small suitcase of things for Noah, toys, books, handpicked with care, things they had shopped for specifically. They knew his food preferences and had brought his favorite crackers. They called him our guy and meant it, and he could feel it, even at 3 years old. After Lauren's parents left, I drove to my parents' house with Noah for a visit. My mother made him a snack. She was kind, but she asked Lauren's parents more questions. What did they bring? How long were they there? Then she asked about Noah's current interests or his development or what he was excited about. I noticed. I said nothing. When Noah was 4, my father took Carter and his school friend to a Clippers game in Columbus. He took the day off work for it. He texted me a photo from inside the arena, Carter with a hot dog, grinning, my father's arm around him. I showed Lauren the photo and said, "Nice." She looked at me, and I looked at her, and we both said nothing. When Noah was 4.5, he had a small role in a preschool holiday show. He played a snowflake. He wore a white costume. Lauren had stayed up late 2 nights in a row sewing together. He had exactly 2 lines, and he delivered them with the solemnity of a child who had rehearsed them several hundred times. We invited my parents. My mother came. My father said he had a prior commitment and sent a card. Kevin's kids had a similar school performance 6 months later. Both my parents attended. My mother called me afterward to tell me about it in detail, how wonderful it was, how Lily hit her note perfectly. I asked how Noah's snowflake had been, by way of comparison. She said, "Oh, that was so sweet, wasn't it?" Wasn't. Past tense, already filed away. I told myself, they're still learning how to be Noah's grandparents. Some people need more time with an adopted grandchild. Give them more time. I gave them more time. Beyond those specific years, there were other recurring patterns I kept track of without meaning to. The Christmas when Carter and Lily each got a personalized ornament with their photo and birth year from my parents, and Noah got a gift bag of assorted small toys. It was fine. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the same. The birthday when my mother sent Carter a handwritten letter with his card, a real letter, 2 pages, telling him specific things she loved about him, and specific memories she treasured, and Noah's birthday card had a pre-printed sentiment and her signature and nothing else. The family photo my parents had framed on their mantle that included Kevin's kids individually and a group shot of our whole family, where Noah was in the back row, half obscured. None of these things individually constituted evidence. All of them together built something that I carried quietly for 6 years. I want to tell you who Noah is, because I think it matters. He is stubborn and creative and relentless about the things he cares about. He went through a phase where he would only wear one specific pair of yellow socks, and the intensity of his commitment to those socks was something to behold. He is deeply kind with animals. The way he handles Biscuit, the gentleness, tells you something true about who he is. He is learning to read, and it is hard work for him, and he does the hard work without complaint, which is more than most adults manage. He asks why constantly, not as a stall tactic the way some kids do, but because he actually wants to know. He is relentlessly, genuinely curious. He calls my parents Grandma Diane and Grandpa Walt. He draws them pictures. On my father's birthday last year, Noah spent 3 evenings at the kitchen table making a birthday card from scratch. Colored pencils, stickers, a drawing of my father in a fishing boat that looked more like an abstract expressionist painting than a boat, but the love in it was unmistakable. He was so proud of it. He asked me 3 times if I thought Grandpa Walt would like it. I told him yes, and I meant it. My father thanked him briefly, set the card on the counter, and then turned to talk to Kevin about something else. Carter's birthday card, also homemade, a similar effort, was taped to the refrigerator where it stayed for months. I saw both things happen. I said nothing about either of them. I just kept adding to the count. 3 months ago, my parents announced a grandchildren celebration dinner. Their idea, their words, a dinner to celebrate all 5 grandchildren, to mark the season, to do something special as a full family. I thought it was a good idea. I was glad they'd thought of it. We arrived at their house on a Saturday evening. Kevin and Pam and their kids were already there. The house smelled like pot roast, which is what my mother makes for occasions. The table was set beautifully. My parents were in good spirits. Noah held my hand when we came in, and then released it and went to say hi to his cousins, which is the right thing to do, and he always does it. Dinner was warm and normal. The kids ate together at one end of the table. My father told a story about a fishing trip. My mother kept everyone's glasses full of sweet tea. It was a good evening. After dinner, my parents disappeared to the back bedroom and returned carrying gift bags. 5 bags, one for each grandchild. Carter got his first. He opened a scrapbook, genuinely handmade. My mother had clearly spent weeks on it. Pages and pages of photographs, tickets, mementos, small printed captions in her handwriting. Carter's name was embossed on the cover. His cousins gathered around to look at it while he flipped through. Then an engraved silver disc, the kind you get custom-made, with his name, his birth year, and a short phrase my parents had chosen for him. And a savings bond, crisp and official, for $500. Lily got the same treatment. Her own scrapbook, her own engraved keepsake, her own savings bond. Cooper got the same. He's 5, same age as Noah, and he beamed and held his scrapbook upside down for about 3 minutes before Pam turned it around for him, and everyone laughed. Then it was Noah's turn. My mother handed him his bag. He reached in and pulled out a flat, card-sized item still in its original retail packaging. A gift card to a national toy store chain. The kind you see hanging in a rack near the checkout counter. No personalization. No sleeve with his name written on it. No note. $10. I looked at the gift card. I looked at the 3 scrapbooks on the table. The 3 engraved keepsakes. The 3 savings bonds. I looked at Noah. He turned the gift card over in his hands the way a child does when they're trying to understand what they're holding. He looked at it. He looked at Carter's scrapbook. He looked at me. And I saw the question form on his face before he had the words for it. He didn't ask it out loud. He's 6. He doesn't have the framework yet to name what he was experiencing. But I am his father, and I have been watching his face for 6 years, and I know every version of every expression he makes. And what I saw in that moment was the first early edge of understanding that something was not the same. My mother said something like, "We thought you'd like to pick something out for yourself, Noah." Cheerful, as if the $10 rack gift card were a considered choice. My father was looking at the table. Kevin and Pam were not looking at me. I sat with it for about 30 seconds. I did the math. I made myself slow down and think clearly, the way I always try to. Then I folded my napkin, placed it on the table, and stood up. "Dinner was delicious, Mom," I said. "Thank you for having us." She looked up, startled. "We're going to head out." "James, I'll be in touch." "Come on, buddy." Noah looked up at me. I extended my hand. He took it. I said goodnight to Kevin and Pam and their kids. I kissed Lauren on the cheek. She had understood in the same moment I did. I could feel it, and she gathered our things without a word. We said goodnight to my parents, and we walked out the front door. In the car, I strapped Noah into his booster seat and got into the driver's seat. We drove about 2 minutes in silence. Then Noah said, from the back seat, "Daddy, did I do something wrong?" I pulled over. I put the car in park and I turned around and I looked at my son. "No, buddy," I said. "You did nothing wrong. Not one single thing. Do you hear me?" "Then why did we leave?" I thought about how to answer that. You can't explain adult failures to a 6-year-old in real time without doing damage. You tell them the truth in pieces as they're ready for it. "Sometimes," I said, "grown-ups have things they need to figure out. That's a grown-up problem, not a Noah problem. You were perfect tonight. You were polite and kind, and you said hi to everyone, and you ate your dinner. I'm proud of you." He thought about that. "Okay," he said. "Okay. Okay, Daddy." He believed me. The way small children believe their parents when the parents speak with enough certainty. That belief is one of the most sacred things a parent holds. I do not take it lightly. When we got home and Noah was in bed and Lauren and I were alone in the kitchen, she put her hand on my arm and said, "I saw it too." "I know you did. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to tell them we need to talk before we see them again. And if they don't think they did anything wrong?" I thought about that for a moment. "Then I'm going to explain it to them clearly and give them the chance to make it right." "And if they can't?" I didn't answer that part. I already knew the answer, and I didn't want to say it out loud yet. I sent my parents a text that night. Simple, direct. "We need to talk about what happened at dinner tonight before we see you again. I'll call you tomorrow." My father called me the next morning before I had a chance to call them. His tone was already defensive, which told me my mother had spent the night working through her version of events and feeding it to him. "James, I think you overreacted last night." "Dad, you gave Carter, Lily, and Cooper each a personalized scrapbook, an engraved keepsake, and a $500 savings bond. You gave Noah a gift card. Your mother worked very hard on those scrapbooks. We have a lot of history with Carter and Lily. Noah is 6 years old. He has 6 years of history with you. He draws you pictures. He made you a birthday card from scratch. You are his grandparents. He is your son in every way, James. You know we love him. I need you to show it the same way you show it to Kevin's kids. That's all I'm asking." We were trying to let him pick out something he wanted. We thought it was more personal. A $10 rack gift card is not more personal than a handmade scrapbook, Dad. You know that. Silence on the line. "You're making this into something it isn't," he said. I watched my son's face at that table. I know what I saw. He seemed fine. He asked me in the car if he did something wrong. He's 6 years old, and he asked me if he did something wrong. My father had no response to that. The call ended without resolution. My mother called an hour later. She cried. I don't say that to be dismissive of her tears. I think they were real. But crying is not the same as understanding, and understanding is not the same as changing. And what I needed from them was not an emotional response, but a clear acknowledgement of what had happened and a genuine commitment to do differently. "I didn't mean for it to look different," she said. "Mom, you spent weeks making those scrapbooks. You custom-ordered engraved pieces. You bought savings bonds. At some point in all of that planning, you made a different decision for Noah. I need you to sit with that." "I didn't think." "I know you didn't think. That's part of what I need you to sit with." She cried more. She said she loved Noah. I told her I believed her. I told her that loving someone and treating them equally are not automatically the same thing, and that she had a chance right now to close the gap between them. She said she would do better. I said I hoped so. Then Kevin called. Kevin and I have always been close. He's 3 years younger. We played baseball together growing up, shared a room until I left for college. still text most weeks about nothing in particular. He is not a bad person. I want to be clear about that. He is also, in this situation, a man whose children benefited from the disparity I'm describing. And I don't think he has ever sat with that particular fact for very long. It's easier not to. He called me with the energy of someone who had already decided the situation before he picked up the phone. When people call you to deliver the family's position rather than to have an actual conversation, you can hear it in the first sentence. James, Mom and Dad are really upset. Kevin, your kids got scrapbooks and savings bonds. My kid got a gift card. They've known Carter and Lily longer. They have more memories with them. The scrapbooks take time. Cooper is 5. Same as Noah. Cooper got the full treatment. Silence. Cooper's their grandkid. So is Noah. You know what I mean. I actually need you to say what you mean out loud, Kevin. Because right now what it sounds like is that my son doesn't count the same as yours. That's not what I said. Then correct me. What did you mean? He fumbled. He went through 3 or 4 versions of the same defense, each one retreating from the previous. He talked about proximity again. He talked about the scrapbooks taking time to build up memories. He talked about how Cooper's scrapbook wasn't as full as Carter's and Lily's. I let him talk. When he finished, I said, "None of what you just said explains a $10 gift card. A gift card is not a time issue. A gift card is not a proximity issue. A gift card is a decision. Somebody decided to give Noah a gift card while spending weeks making scrapbooks for your kids. I need you to say that plainly, without defending it." He went quiet. "I'm not trying to cut Mom and Dad off," I said. "I'm asking for them to treat my son the same way they treat yours. That's it. That's the entire ask." Kevin sighed. That sigh that means, "I understand what you're saying and I don't want to have to agree with it." "I think you're making this about you," he said. "About your feelings about the adoption, not about Noah." That one landed harder than I expected. Kevin knows me. He knows the 12 years. He knows the losses. He knew exactly where to press. I took a breath. A long one. The kind of breath a person takes when they need to not say the first thing that comes to mind. "Noah is 6, I said. "He doesn't have feelings about adoption the way you mean. He sat at that table and opened a gift card while every other child opened a scrapbook. That is the complete, total reality of his experience at this moment. If you want to make it about adoption, go ahead, but the starting point is still, my son got a gift card." Kevin said he would talk to our parents. I told him I appreciated that. I also knew, by the way he said it, that talking to our parents was going to mean telling them James was upset and needed them to apologize, rather than asking them to genuinely examine what they'd done. That's the family dynamic we have always operated in. Smooth it over. Keep the peace. Return to normal as quickly as possible. I was not interested in returning to normal. Normal was the problem. But it's what you meant. He got quiet. Then, "I think you're making this about you. About your feelings about the adoption, not about Noah." I hadn't expected him to use that. But he had it, and he used it. I took a breath. "If anything," I said, "this is about Noah having less complicated feelings about the adoption than the adults in this family. He is 6 years old. He does not know what adoption means in any complex way. He just knows he sat at a table and opened a gift card while every other kid opened a scrapbook. That is the whole reality for him. Don't make it more sophisticated than it is." Kevin went quiet again. "My door is open," I said, "but the condition for walking back through it is that my son gets the same treatment yours do. Not a gesture, not an apology. The actual same treatment, consistently." He said he would talk to them. He did talk to them, and whatever he said, it did not help. My mother called the following week. She told me she had put together a small care package for Noah, some candy, a small toy, a handwritten note. Could she drop it off? I said yes. She came by. Noah was happy to see her. He hugged her. She hugged him back, and her eyes were wet when she left. I did not think that dropped-off care package was the equivalent of a scrapbook. But I did not say so that day. I was watching to see if it was the beginning of a genuine change or a single gesture aimed at resolution without accountability. 2 weeks later, I found out through Lauren's conversation with Pam that my parents had ordered custom savings bonds for Carter and Lily's next birthdays, engraved frames to display them, the whole arrangement. Nothing comparable had been mentioned for Noah. I call my father. Dad, I heard you're doing the savings bond frames for Carter and Lily. For their birthdays, yes. What are you planning for Noah's birthday in March? A pause. We haven't talked about that yet. That's the problem. James. The problem is that you are actively planning for Kevin's kids, and my son is an afterthought. I need you to understand that I can see the difference even when you think I can't. Noah will be able to see it too, more clearly every year. My father got stiff in that way he does when he feels cornered. I don't know what you want from us. I want you to love my son the way you love Kevin's kids. I wanted to show the same way. I want him to feel it. We do love him. Then act like it consistently. Not when I call to remind you. Consistently. The call did not end well. The following month, about 6 weeks after the dinner, my parents and Kevin's family got together for what I later learned was a spontaneous Sunday lunch. Nobody called us. Nobody mentioned it to me until Lauren saw a photo of it on Pam's social media. My parents' kitchen table, all three of Kevin's kids eating lunch, my mother laughing, my father with Cooper on his knee. I did not confront anyone about that specifically, but Lauren and I talked about it that night for a long time. They didn't call you, she said. No. Are they punishing you for the dinner? Maybe. Or maybe they just didn't think about it. And I don't know which one is worse. Lauren is a steady woman. She doesn't catastrophize and she doesn't minimize. She looks at things clearly. She is a much better person than I am at separating what is from what she wishes were true. James, she said, I know you want this to work out. I know you want them to come around. But I need you to think about what we're going to do if they don't. Not what you hope they'll do. What you're going to do if they can't give him what he deserves. I know. Because the longer this goes on without resolution, the more he's going to notice. I know. And I won't watch him spend his childhood being the grandchild who feels less than. Neither will I. We sat with that for a while. I want to say something about the specific weight of this situation that I don't think outsiders always understand, because I've had this conversation with a few people since, and they sometimes frame it as a sensitivity issue, as if I'm being thin-skinned, as if this is about my pride. It is not about my pride. Here is what it is about. Children construct their understanding of their own worth through the experiences they accumulate. That construction happens early, and it happens continuously. The way a grandparent looks at a child. The way they reach for that child's hand versus waiting for the child to reach first. Whether they remember the small specific things, the yellow socks, the navy bedroom, the role in the school play. Whether the birthday card has actual words in it, or just a pre-printed sentiment and a signature. Children don't understand the concept of differential treatment as a philosophical matter, but they feel the temperature of a room. They feel whether they are the kind of child people reach for or the kind of child people wait for. They feel whether they are a full person in someone's eyes or an approximation of one. Noah is not old enough yet to have language for what he experienced at that table, but he will be. Every year he gets older, the vocabulary expands. By the time he is 10 or 12, he will have precise words for exactly what that evening was. And if nothing changes, he will have 6 more years of smaller confirming data points by then too. I am a history teacher. Every year I stand in front of 17 and 18-year-olds and ask them to look at patterns and ask what those patterns reveal. I teach them that individual events are data points and that meaning emerges from patterns over time. I teach them that the stories people tell about why things happened are often separate from the structures that caused them. I cannot teach that in a classroom and practice the opposite at home. The pattern is real. The gift card was not an isolated mistake. It was the clearest, most public expression of something that had been accumulating for 6 years. And the reason it hit me so hard in that moment was not that it was worse than the other moments. It was that it happened in front of everyone, at a table explicitly designed to celebrate all 5 grandchildren equally, and still my son got a gift card. There is nowhere to hide a pattern when it expresses itself that clearly. I thought about the years of quiet documentation, the birthday cards, the refrigerator, the fishing cabin invitation, the Christmas ornaments, the snowflake performance my father didn't attend, the Sunday lunch I didn't know about until I saw it on social media. I thought about Noah at that table, turning the gift card over in his hands. I thought about him in the back seat of the car, asking if he did something wrong. That question, that 6-year-old question, I keep returning to it. He did not ask it with drama. He did not ask it accusingly. He asked it the way a child asks it when they are quietly trying to make sense of a world that has just sent them a signal they don't fully understand. And the thing about that signal is that children receive it whether or not adults intend to send it. You cannot explain intention to a 6-year-old. You cannot tell him, Grandma and Grandpa didn't mean to make you feel less than. That is an adult explanation for an adult failure, and he does not have the scaffolding to hold it yet. What he has is what he experienced at the table. That's it. My job, the job I took on the day I held him in that fluorescent lit room, is to protect him from experiences that chip away at his understanding of his own worth. I cannot do that job if I keep bringing him into a room where the chipping happens. About 2 months after the dinner, I made a decision. I called my parents and told them, directly and calmly, that Lauren and I would be reducing our family gatherings until I was confident that Noah would be treated the same as his cousins. Not that we were cutting them off, not that they would never see him, but that holiday gatherings with the full family, events where the comparison between children was likely to be visible, those were paused until something genuinely changed. My father was quiet for a long time. "You're keeping our grandson from us," he said finally. "I'm protecting my son. Those are different things. James, if you want Noah at your table, I need to know he will be at your table the same way Carter and Lily and Cooper are. Not close enough. The same. And I need to see it over time, not in one gesture when I apply pressure. You're asking a lot. I'm asking you to love my son." My mother called later that day. She told me she had already started a scrapbook for Noah. She said she'd been working on it for 2 weeks, that she'd pulled old photographs, that she was doing it properly this time. She sounded genuine. I told her I was glad to hear it. I told her that when it was finished and when I had seen some consistency over a couple of months, I'd be open to talking about resuming the fuller gatherings. That was 5 weeks ago. The scrapbook is apparently still in progress. I know this because Noah talked to my mother on the phone last week and she told him she was making something special for him. He told me about it at bedtime, matter-of-factly, the way he tells me most things. He didn't make a big deal of it. He just said, "Grandma Diane is making me a book," and then asked me if Biscuit could sleep in his room. I said yes on the dog. I said I was glad about the book. I did not say anything else. I do not know yet how this ends. I do not know if my parents are capable of the sustained, genuine equality that Noah deserves. I hope they are. I want them to be. I grew up with them. I know the good in them. My father taught me to throw a baseball, hours in the backyard on summer evenings, patient in a way he wasn't always patient about other things. My mother read to me every single night until I was old enough to read myself. And even after that, she'd sometimes come into my room and just ask, "What page are you on?" as a way of being there. They are not villains. They are not heartless. They are people who have a blind spot they may not fully understand, and who are being asked, later than they should have been asked, to look directly at it. The blind spot, as best I can name it, is this: they never fully transferred the mental and emotional category of grandchild to Noah in the same way it transferred automatically to Kevin's biological children. I don't think they did this consciously. I don't think they sat in a room and decided Noah would count as less. But the unconscious result is the same as a conscious decision when you look at it from Noah's vantage point. He can't see the intention. He can only see the gift card. What I have come to believe, after 3 months of thinking about it, is that they need to actively work against that default. It will not correct itself. It has not corrected itself in 6 years. If anything, as Kevin's kids have gotten older and more distinct as personalities, the gap has widened. My parents have more history with them, more accumulated warmth, more specific knowledge of who they are. Noah has been a slower build, and some of that is because they have not invested in him the same way. You cannot undo that passively. You have to be deliberate about it. You have to notice when you're not thinking about Noah as naturally as you think about Carter, and then think about Noah. You have to put the scrapbook on the calendar before you put the savings bond frame on the calendar. You have to make the birthday call before I have to remind you. That's not a difficult ask. It just requires choosing it. Whether they can choose it consistently, I don't know yet. What I know is this: I will not apologize for leaving that dinner. I will not apologize for the text I sent that night, or the phone call the next morning, or any conversation I've had since. I spent 6 years being patient. I gave the benefit of the doubt until it ran out entirely. I told myself I was imagining things until my son sat at a table with a gift card in his hands and looked at me, and the doubt dissolved completely and permanently. You can love someone and still do damage. You can have good intentions and still build inequality into the bones of a family relationship over time, through accumulated small decisions, through the defaults you never examined. My parents are not bad people, but what they did at that table was wrong. And if I had packed up the gift card and driven home and said nothing, absorbed it quietly, the way I had absorbed the smaller things for 6 years, I would have been teaching Noah that wrong things done by people we love are worth enduring in silence. He is watching how I handle this. Not consciously, not analytically, but in the way children absorb everything their parents do about how the world works and how a person is supposed to respond when something is not right. I am a history teacher. I spend my days helping teenagers understand that the things a society refuses to name are the things it allows to continue. That the first act of changing anything is the willingness to call it what it is. I cannot teach that in a classroom and then come home and look my son in the eye and practice the opposite. My son asked me if he did something wrong. The answer was, and will always be, no. The job of every parent is to make that answer true. Not just to say it, to actually make it true, structurally, concretely, in the real life where the child lives. That is what I'm doing. That is the only thing that matters. There will be people who think I overreacted, who think a gift card is a small thing and families should stay together over small things. I understand that. I am not asking anyone to agree with every decision I've made. But I am asking you to consider what the gift card represented, not as an isolated event, as the final point in a 6-year line, as the moment the pattern made itself undeniable, as the moment a 6-year-old boy in a room full of people who were supposed to love him equally first understood that something was not the same. He didn't deserve that understanding. My job is to make sure he gets as few of those moments as possible, and that when they come, he knows his father sees them. Noah is 6. He will be 7 in March. He has a Navy bedroom and a dog named Biscuit and a best friend named Tyler and a laugh that shakes his whole body. He is my son, and he is going to grow up knowing exactly what that means. Have you ever had to protect your child from someone in your own family? Have you ever watched a subtle pattern of differential treatment finally become impossible to ignore? Have you ever had to choose between family peace and your child's sense of worth? Share your experience in the comments. Because sometimes the most important thing a parent does isn't dramatic. It's just standing up from the table and extending your hand and saying, "Come on, buddy, we're going." If you believe that every child in a family deserves to be loved the same way, not almost the same, not close enough, but the same, hit that like button and subscribe. Because a gift card is not a scrapbook, and a child knows the difference even when the adults in the room pretend they don't. Hashtag he asked if he did something wrong.